Do not buy this Anker SOLIX F3800 until you understand this one major thing. And if you're considering the F3000, you should also pay attention to this. So about this time of year, Anker SOLIX is usually doing a Black Friday sale on all of their systems. And so I wanted to go through their systems real quick so that way you know if one of these is the right fit for you, because I get this question quite regularly about this time of year. The same applies for other brands, but in this video, I'm going to specifically be going over Anker SOLIX because there are two units that I do think are really worth getting. But like I said at the beginning, you don't want to get the F3800 without understanding this one major thing. And I'm going to go over that here shortly. My name's Ben. This is the Minuteman Solar YouTube channel. These are my own opinions. I'm not being forced or anything like that to tell you that I like these units. That's how it is with all of my videos. So let's get right into it. The first thing are these two smaller units. This is the C300 and the C300 DC. The only real difference between these is that this has AC outlets, or basically house outlets, whereas this is only USB and DC power. The one major difference is that this has a pop-up lantern on top, whereas this has a light bar instead. I use these quite regularly when I'm traveling. So whether I'm just running a DC fridge or just charging up my phones and batteries, these are really good units for that because they're so lightweight. In my opinion, I prefer the C300 over the C300 DC because I like the versatility of having the extra outlets here. One thing that's really cool though that none of my other units have is that both of these have 140 watt USB-C ports, and they can be used for both charging and discharging. If you need something really portable, then take a look at these two units. I think they're a good option. If you do need a little bit more power though, go with the C1000. This is the Gen 2. This is actually one of my top favorite units for portable power. I would actually prefer to take this over either of these if I have the option. And that's because this has over 1,000 watt hours of battery capacity. So I often take this with me when I'm going to my off-grid cabin and I need to be able to recharge batteries or run lights or run a sump pump, or even if I'm running a pump to drain my cistern in order to clean it, whatever it is, this gives me plenty of power to run that equipment while having a decent battery and actually having a decent solar input on this XT60i connection. Normally, I gripe about 60-volt charge controllers, and that is true. I dislike them, except for in smaller units where it makes sense. As long as I'm pairing it with the CalSun 200-watt solar panels, those are my favorite 200-watt bifacial solar panel, and they have a higher voltage on them than like a normal 200-watt solar panel. So that pairs really well with 60-volt charge controllers, and I'm going to touch on this again in just a second because this is really important for the larger units. But the other thing is this has what they call their SurePad outlet down here in the corner. This will do more output than these other outlets here. So if you do need to run a decent heavy load such as a pump, this will be able to handle it as well as run it for about 45 minutes to an hour depending on the load, with the 1,000 watt hour battery in it. The F3000 is actually one of their newest units to their whole lineup of systems, and it does have a purpose. And that's specifically focused on 120 volt only or single phase only power. This has a 3,600 watt inverter and 3,072 watt hours of battery, so it's definitely a very capable system. What's interesting about the F3000 is that it has both a 60-volt charge controller and one 165-volt charge controller. In my opinion, they should have just done two 165-volt charge controllers. Maybe they were constricted on the space inside, or they're trying to keep the price down or something like that. I'm not a huge fan of 60-volt charge controllers once you get to the big units, because this has over 3,000 watt hours of battery. In order to charge this in a single day, I need a bare minimum of 1,000 watts of input because I have to consider I need to put 600 watts over a 5-hour period to charge the battery, because watt hours is just watts over time. But then we have to consider I'm going to be running stuff off of this, likely a refrigerator, a freezer, Wi-Fi, maybe some chargers, some basic things for basic backup is what this is really intended for. So I need to have enough solar input, and you get that with this unit using both the 60-volt and 165-volt charge controller. It just is a weird thing to put the 60-volt in here when you have the 165-volt. You got a big light bar here in case the power is out and you need to light up a bedroom. You have a special generator port on the back of it so you can recharge it very quickly from a gas generator if you use their Anker SOLIX generator adapter. It's got expansion batteries for it. It's got a TT30 RV plug with a true 30 amp output. Lots of USB output as well as Anderson power poles. So if you're running 12-volt equipment like a ham radio equipment or anything like that, this is truly a very good unit for that. but it will not do split phase power. You can't join two of these together to get 120 and 240 volt power. And that's why they have the Anker SOLIX F3800 Plus. Now, this is what I was referring to at the very beginning of the video, that you do not want to buy the F3800 without considering the F3800 Plus. Yes, it costs more, and in my opinion, it's absolutely worth every penny more over the F3800. There are three main reasons for that. First, this has the generator charger on it. Both the F3800 and the F3800 Plus cannot charge from a 120 volt source if it's outputting 240 volts. So because of that, we need a way to recharge the batteries aside from solar if the weather is bad. The F3800 Plus gives you that option. So the second thing that's really different about the Plus version is that you have a normal TT30 RV plug. It's rated to 25 amps of output, and an L1430 split phase plug. The main reason that I like this over the F3800 is the F3800 gave you two split phase outputs, which made no sense. Because if you're using a NEMA 1450 connection, all you have to do is get an adapter to go from NEMA 1450 to L1430. Because the max output of this is only 25 amps anyway, you would never in any situation need the 50 amp connector, other than if you only have that connection style and it doesn't fit into here. But a $20 adapter from Amazon fixes that. So why not have an RV connection and a whole house connection? This makes way more sense over the F3800. But the third thing, and really the most important out of all of it, is that this does include two 165 volt charge controllers. The normal F3800 is stuck with two 60 volt charge controllers, and they've done some updates to try to make it a little bit better. And I always appreciate that. It is a little bit better than when it first came out, but still, the major issue with 60 volt charge controllers is you have to use panels that have the perfect amount of voltage. The main thing with 60 volt charge controllers is pretty much across the board with all brands and all units, it's really hard to reach the rated wattage with the voltage available from panels. To explain that, volts times amps equals watts. So in the case of 100 watts, it doesn't matter if it's 1 volt and 100 amps, or 100 volts and 1 amp, or 10 volts and 10 amps. It doesn't matter. Watts is only the result of volts times amps. So if we say that the F3800 is rated to 1600 watts of solar input, well, you can't just buy four 400 watt solar panels, plug them in and call it good, because they have a parameter that they have to fit within. And that voltage parameter is 60 volts. A typical 400 watt solar panel will put out up to about 37 volts. So even just putting two of them together, you're going to ruin the charge controller. The interesting thing about charge controllers is you cannot go over on the voltage, but you can go way over on the amperage, because the charge controller is only going to let in a certain amount of amps, but it can't control the volts. So you never want to exceed the voltage, but it's okay to go over just by a little bit on the amperage. Not going to be a big deal. So the major problem with the F3800 is there's like 3 solar panels on the market. There's one from Bougie RV, they're 200 watt bifacial. And then my favorite is the Calsun 200 watt bifacial. And I don't remember the third one offhand. But you're limited to those options. And those 200 watt solar panels cost equal or more than a 400 watt solar panel that you can source off of Facebook locally very affordably. So if you go with the 60 volt charge controller on the F3800, if you want to charge from solar, you're going to spend more in solar, which then would have gotten you the F3800 Plus. So you might as well just start with the F3800 Plus instead, because then you get two 165 volt charge controllers, which means you can connect 4 400 watt solar panels together very affordably and very easily and get the maximum 3200 watts of input for this system. And what's more, if you buy those 400 watt solar panels for really cheap, I'll also have a link down below where you can find some if you just want to get them online. But you can pair them with the Minuteman Solar portable panel stand, and then you have an easy way to pop up your solar panels on any given day very easily to recharge your system and then have that system run your house. No permits are required, no paperwork is required. You just set it up, and it's cheaper than doing folding solar panels, and it's cheaper than using the F3800. So as they come out with the Black Friday sales, these systems are not cheap, they're expensive. You want to make sure you get the right system. So hopefully this information helps you make that decision. such as the F3000, you're never going to get split phase power from it. So if you ever want the opportunity to run power to your whole house, you're going to want the F3800 Plus. If you just want some portable power on the go, the C1000 Gen 2 is going to be my top choice, unless you only need a tiny bit of power. Then go with the C300 in my opinion. But regardless of what system you go with, if you choose an Anker SOLIX system, their customer service has been really good. Every time I call, I get a good response from them, and they seem pretty competent on the phone as well. Again, these are my own personal opinions. My opinion cannot be purchased. This has been my experience with these systems. This is one of my top recommended units across all of the units that are available. There are some comparable ones, so if you want to see a free solar generator comparison chart, then click the links down below. I'm going to have a link to my free comparison chart, which shows all of the units that are available on the market in an apples to apples comparison. You wouldn't want to compare this unit to this unit because they serve different purposes. If your goal is to eventually run your whole house off grid, you're going to need a bigger system. If your goal is to have some portable power while you're out and about, doing a little bit of camping or overlanding, then one of these smaller systems is going to be what you want to look at. But if you want to see how the portable solar panel stand works, I'm going to put that video right here so you can check it out, because this truly makes everything so much easier for setting up your solar panels and not have to worry about any paperwork. Plus, if you're in an HOA where you're not allowed to install solar panels, these you can install quickly and easily and then take them down after grid power comes back, after the storm has happened. Whatever the situation is, they make life so much easier. And lastly, don't forget to use the links to get any available coupon codes for the Black Friday sale, because it is one of the best times of the year to save money on the Anker SOLIX systems.